Sabaton is a Swedish power metal band from Forlon, formed in 1999. Their current lineup is Joakim Broden on lead vocals and keyboard, Par Sunstum on bass, Chris Rorand and Tommy Johnson on guitars, and Hans von Daw on bass. The band's lyrical themes are that of war, historical battles, and active heroism, which ties into their new album, The Great War, which is the ninth album from the band and was released this year on July 19th, 2019. And this is an album that has three different versions. There's a regular edition, the history edition, which includes introductions of the song meanings and has sound effects to it, and the soundtrack edition, which is all orchestral and features the vocalist from Nightwish. This review will be of the history version, as I believe that is the best one overall between the history and the regular, and I do not feel qualified to review orchestral music. But I did listen to all three albums at least once, so I can say, if you're wondering about the orchestral version, I thought it was good. Now, as from the title, this is a concept album that will be centered around the First World War. Now, how does that concept stack up to this hotly anticipated release? Let's find out. But first, as with all reviews, we're going to talk about the artwork. Now, as always, my reviews of the artwork is just for fun and no way affects my grade at the end of these videos or reviews. And I'm just going to go straight to the chase and just be honest with you guys. Of all the albums I reviewed so far on YouTube, this is the best cover art for any album. So yeah, it's a 10 out of 10 cover, like, easily. There's just so much going on, and if you look closely, there's a reference to every single song on the cover. I love the mushroom clouds that are made up of skulls, and how much there's just so much going on, and yet it doesn't feel overwhelming in the picture because the focus is on the soldier sitting down, covering his face, presumably injured, as there is blood running down his hands in a manner which makes it look like he's holding his hands in front of his head, sort of covering an injury. And that focus on that soldier really helps to sort of add a simplistic, iconic image in there, rather than just having it just be a bunch of crazy stuff going on where it's it doesn't have really any focus. It's just oh, you just got all this stuff on here that's not going to really make my cover memorable. Now for the actual review itself, which is going to be a little different from my usual reviews, as I'm not going to be going in track by track. I figured I'd try something a little different with this review. So what makes this concept album interesting is that the songs act as an anthology of sorts to the different events that occurred from the US to Europe to the Middle East. And even with that, the album does have an overall flow and progression, despite being, well, it's an anthology, sort of, in the way that it tells its narrative, and it still makes it feel like all one story. The narration is great. I love her narration, especially on the Fields of Flirton, where she's like, "They shall not pass." As for who it is, I couldn't find out who the narrator actually is. It's not listed anywhere that I have looked. Apparently, she's the same narrator from Gears of War or World of Warcraft, and I tried to search that way, but no luck. I will say one of the unfortunate things, downsides to the narration, is on the very opening track. It's very awkward in terms of there's a very odd transition from the narration going into the song. It sort of ends, and then the song starts right up as she finishes speaking, which, given how the future warfare opens up with the shout, it does make the transition quite awkward. Also, I understand that the first track on the regular edition too is the only track that has sort of that 20-second intro. So I really felt like it would have been better if they had, with the history edition, added a bit more. So it's like, so there's like about like a 3 to 4 second window between, the actual like start of, when he's like, stand in the line of fire, rather than just like having it be sort of like it is on the history version where it plays out, which is like, the future of warfare, the tank, stand in the line of fire. Yeah, I just found that to be awkward. However, despite that, the future of warfare is a very awesome and very strong opening track. And that in no way impacts my overall feelings towards the song itself, as that's more of a transition thing, not really criticism of the actual song itself. The songs on this album are very catchy, and the sections of each song flow nicely, and so there's nothing jarring between a chorus or a second verse where you can just really feel like a significant dip, or just having one part of the song just like completely like dominate the other. Even though this is power metal, it doesn't really feel like it. The instrumentation on this album is much more, I'd say, stripped down, especially for something considered to be power metal, which, as I said, does not feel like it. It feels more like a heavy metal album or a symphonic metal album rather than a power metal one. However, the guitar solos are great, and the drums do a great job of keeping a nice beat, helping things be catchy with their simplistic nature. The vocal performance from Joaquin is definitely the highlight of the record, with his low bassy vocals sounding a lot like Rammstein to me. I know that, I don't know, maybe they're classified in the same genre as Rammstein is over in Europe, because I know that they're considered, Rammstein in particular is considered industrial metal over here, but they have like, they're labeled as their own sort of genre over there. Maybe Sabaton's considered under that umbrella genre over there. Not sure. I'm not European, so. But yeah. But his higher vocals sound like very powerful, and they have a lot of force to them, especially when he does the slight distortion or raps that he provides in his voice. And this really helps to make the highlight of the album, which are by far the choruses and melody, which are very catchy and will leave you singing nearly all of them long after the song ends. Even Ghost in the Trenches, which has the weakest chorus on the album, is still good. The choir and other symphonic elements, which are another highlight, helped have each track feel epic and add a whole new layer to each song, with this best being shown on the second to last song on the album, The War to End All Wars. And as far as the lyrics, without going into the meanings, as that spoils the narration of the history edition, the lyrics are very well written and go with a direct approach to just the details of the events, rather than trying to be like all metaphorical and deep, which you don't always need to be metaphorical and deep to write good lyrics, just putting out there. And they're really good at also portraying the moods of the tracks, such as the very America, hell yeah, tracks like 80-second All the Way, which, by the way, is the most fun song on the album, and definitely is, like, I think it's probably the most uplifting song on the album in a way. Just has really awesome vibes throughout. And Devil Dogs. Which is also another very American, song. And then to the very dread sounding Attack of the Dead Man, where you just like feel like this, how to describe it, like this sense of sort of unrelenting doom. And it goes even to songs which look into what might be considered to be a pointless war, and was it even worth it, with the title track Great War. A definite highlight of the album is the closer in Flanders Fields, which I know people will qualify it as an outro, but considering the context of everything and just how um, absolutely phenomenal of a song it is, I'm not calling it an outro. I'm going to call it the closer, which acts not only as the album's emotional, tear-jerking moment, but it brings the album to a close and somber end, and it has the sound of mourning to it, which it unravels all the vulnerability and just the everything behind the epic sounding tracks that made up the album to that point. Um, and it's just something that it will leave you speechless when you hear it, especially in the context of listening to this album from the start all the way to that very end. All the singles for this album, which were 22nd all the way, Great War, Fields of Verdun, and The Red Baron were all amazing choices and were among the absolute best songs in the album. Another thing is the sound effects were also really good too, especially on the narrations and sometimes on the tracks themselves, which really helped to add to various things. For example, there's Middle Eastern sort of slight instrumentation slash sampling, I think. I'm pretty sure it's instrumentation, but I'm going to say sampling just in case it is a sample, which helped to give setting to the song, which is obviously going to be in the Middle East. And then there's also things like there's a song that also uses a sort of whistling sound effect, which kind of just sounds like a bomb as it plays, like it happens in the pre-chorus before it drops into the chorus. And normally, right here, I would say I would end my review here and give this album like an 8 or 7.5. But the concept here is really well done. You do really feel immersed in the war this album is telling you, and feel the progression from the start of the war to the end, where just the entire Western world is absolutely left in ruins. A concept record can make an album better or worse, as I said in my Queen of the Murder Scene review. And here, it absolutely makes the album better. Not only that, but it's nearly perfect, minus one or two minor issues I had. This is an album that gets just better and better with every listen and has a ton of replay value to it. There is not a single song that I would qualify below a good, and the album, I really enjoyed my multiple listens through this CD. So, with all the confidence in the world, I'm going to give The Great War by Sabaton a 9.5 out of 10. My favorite tracks were The Future of Warfare, 82nd All the Way, Attack of the Dead Men, The Red Baron, Great War, Fields of Verdun, and Flanders Fields. What did you think of The Great War by Sabaton? Did you love it? Did you hate it? And what are your favorite concept albums that are around World War I? Let me know in the comments down below, and let me know what you want me to review next. I'm always open to suggestions, and I will definitely check them out. And I do reply to your comments, so yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you all have a great day. Peace.